Hi, hello everyone, welcome to a very special video. Today I want to talk about my first solo trip. So I came back a couple of days ago. I'm still rather tired because it was a very long journey. I went to one of the Channel Islands, Jersey, which I've been to before with my family a couple of years ago, so this made me a little more confident to go on my own. So I was thinking, so I didn't film that much, but I still took quite a few photos and also some little clips here and there. I didn't feel confident enough to just like really vlog, but I was thinking, and I saw a similar kind of video on Lee Alexander's channel and I really liked the idea, and I also, would have taken my photos as reference photos to draw anyway. So what I was thinking is doing a zine. I've never done this before, but I have in the past when I was younger used notebooks to write all of the things I did during a travel, doing a trip. And so I thought, why not do a proper zine this time? So 5 years ago when I was there, I did one. So it looked like this, for example. And I was thinking this time to really include drawings and illustrations as well. So during my stay, I didn't really manage to draw a lot. I took a few supplies with me though, and I once sat down in the Botanic Garden and I did this illustration of it. It was so cute because there was someone walking by and saying, "Oh, this looks lovely," and I had a quick little chat with them, and that was so kind and nice, and this is what I managed to do while sitting there on a little bench. And yeah, but so there was so many other lovely views that I would have loved to draw and paint, but there was just no time, and also I couldn't just carry everything with me all the time. My backpack was already heavy enough as it was, and so yeah, I thought now that I'm home I can just sit down, take my reference photos and talk to you about the trip while I draw and paint. So I hope you enjoy that, and maybe you'd like to grab your sketchbook too. Let me know what you do while watching this video, and here we go. Hello everyone, I'm so excited to share this experience with you, and I'm going to tell you all about it while I create the drawings and little paintings for my zine that I miraculously managed to finish on time for this video to go up before I actually leave again to see some family friends in France. So yeah, to be very honest with you, I was really looking forward to this trip. I had been to Jersey before, as I said, with my family about 5 years ago, so I thought, okay, this is going to work. I know where I'm going, I speak French and English fluently, so there shouldn't be a problem. However, on Sunday morning, when I was about to leave, I was so nervous and anxious, and I was like, oh my god, what am I doing? And frankly, sitting in that train on my way to Paris felt very strange too, because I had not been there since my grandma passed away 2 years ago, so as you can tell, there were quite a lot of emotions going on there. So anyway, over the course of my trip I felt more relaxed, even though a little tired, and when I finally arrived in Granville in Normandy, I left my luggage at the hotel and went directly to the house of Christian Dior, which is now a museum. And I'd seen it 5 years ago, but it is absolutely stunning. The view is breathtaking, and the dresses that are exhibited in the house are just so beautiful. I mean, I'd love to wear one day. I mean, this is a little dream of mine. It's probably never gonna happen, but these dresses are just so beautiful. So after I'd visited the house, looked at the dresses, explored the gardens and took in the view of the sea, I found a little path in the cliffs that led me to the seafront, where I went for a walk, actually intending to go back to the city centre to have some dinner, but there were crowds of people and they were watching a swimming contest. You can see the waves and it looked a little wild to me, but I guess or hope, people were hopefully knowing what they're doing. So it was really impressive and kind of crazy to me at the same time. Yeah, and walking back to city centre, I walked by a little takeaway and just decided to get some wraps and a muffin for dessert, and just walked straight back to the seafront and enjoy my dinner with this magnificent view. It was so enjoyable. The next day I had to get up quite early again to go to the harbour and get the ferries, so fortunately I don't get seasick. So I really enjoyed staying on the top deck and breathing in the fresh air for a while. The ferry only takes about 1.5 hours to get to Jersey, and some people were so sick. I was so sorry for them. So really think about that if you should take the ferry to go there. When I arrived, I was immediately met with the kindness of the people there, asking me if I was lost and needed help finding my way, which I didn't, but it was just so nice, and it would, this is something that would not happen where I live. Anyway, so when I arrived at the hotel, my room was fortunately already ready, and I had a bit of a break before heading out again, so I walked through the city centre of Saint-Helier and found another little takeaway, bought a wrap, and walked straight to the seafront to enjoy my lunch with the view on the sea again. Can you tell I missed the seaside so much? And after that, the sea had already retreated quite a bit, and at low tide you can walk along the beach for what feels like further. But to be honest, I felt kind of lonely that first day, but I tried to just accept that feeling as a passing visitor, so to speak, and not get caught up in it too much. I also had my first scone and tea in a little beach cafe, and it was delicious. So I managed to take care of myself that day, and in the evening I had to go do some grocery shopping, which was so grounding actually. That may sound weird, but I think it's just such a mundane task, and that sort of helped me settle down as well. Unfortunately, the next day I woke up rather early, feeling quite stressed and nervous, so I decided to take it really, really slow. I got ready, prepared my picnic to go to the Botanic Garden of Mena. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. And it was just the perfect day to sit outside. The sun was shining, but it was not too warm, so I sat on a bench, took out my art supplies and did a little sketch of the beautiful view in front of me. And then this was so nice, someone walked by and complimented my drawing, which was such a lovely little encounter, and it really lifted my spirits as well. And then I had my picnic, I had lunch, and walked through this really perfectly, can you say manicured garden, before going back to the bus stop and going to Montorgueil Castle, which I hadn't seen before either, and it was really impressive. And the view you had, I mean, what can I say? It was just so beautiful, and I could have stared at it forever. Okay, so I already completed a couple of pages. I'm quite happy with how it's turning out so far. And now I want to finish the sketch that I started on the island and I haven't shown you yet. And I was sitting in a little cafe on the beach and I had this magnificent view on Montargis Castle that I'd visited before. And so this is how far I'd made it, but obviously it's not done. So I'm going to try and finish it now, hoping not to ruin it. And yeah, let's continue. Walking up to the castle, I had seen a man dressed in a sort of a medieval costume with a hawk on his arm, and when I had paid my ticket and walked into the castle, I saw him again and he was actually welcoming the visitors, and we ended up chatting for a while, which was so great. And I'd say that these small interactions with people during my solo trip is really what made the experience so special, and it was also such a great opportunity for me to speak English as well, because I rarely get that opportunity to speak with the native speakers of English, and it felt so good and it was so nice and people were so kind. Yeah, so the castle was really impressive. You could just walk around and explore and go up and down the staircases and go into those rooms where they'd exhibit things related to the history of the castle, like old documents and things like that. I was also really lucky with the weather. It was beautiful that day and the view you have from up there is just amazing. On Wednesday, the weather was a little windy, and when I arrived in Saint Brelade, it started raining, but fortunately I'd bought my rain jacket, and I can tell you, my backpack was crammed every single day, but I was prepared, you know, I had everything I needed, and so I decided to go to a little park first to eat my picnic, where again, I met an elderly man who was just going for his daily walk, and again, I had a lovely little conversation with him, and later I also talked to one of the gardeners in the park to ask about one of the plants. They have some sort of exotic plants on the island due to the mild weather, and by the time the weather was sunny again and I could finally go to St. Belade's church and cemetery, which is like really old and rather simple in style, which I really liked, and also have that beautiful view on the bay. So for my little travel zine, I decided to draw the cemetery. Is that strange? I don't know, but it was just very interesting. Also, there was this really weird looking tree. I've no idea what it's called, but I guess for people who are interested in botany, the Channel Islands would be really an interesting place. So Little Bay at St. Belade was really cute and definitely worth a stop, but I also really wanted to go to Jersey Pearl and walk along the west coast. And, you know, I had to wait for the low tide anyway. So but then I took the bus and went to the southwest point of the island to Corbière Lighthouse, which is a spot where there are a lot of tourists compared to the rest of the island, and I was a little confused about the way I had to take first to get to the beach. So I asked someone and they explained to me that I just had to walk along the road for a while before arriving at the beach, and honestly it made me a little nervous, but I didn't really have a choice at that point. I'd already made it so far and I just started walking along the road, and fortunately only met about a handful of cars before I could finally take a footpath, which then finally led me to the beach, and it was amazing. I mean, at low tide the beach is so wide and there are so few people. It was just so relaxing. I walked for about, I'd say 1.5 or 2-ish hours until I arrived at Jersey Pearl, only half an hour before their closing time, so that was lucky. And I also bought myself a bracelet and flower-shaped earrings. I really treated myself on this trip. That was kind of the point of this solo adventure. So yeah, that was really amazing. Before I took the bus back home, I had time to eat some ice cream as well, which was delicious, and to just, you know, walk down to the beach again and look back on the way I'd walked, which I was impressed and proud of myself because it's quite a way. On Thursday morning, I woke up with a headache, so I decided to stay in Saint-Hélier, walked around the city and go to the Georgian House Museum. But first I went to the city central market, which is so cute. This is where the fountain is, by the way, and then visited the Georgian House Museum, which was so beautifully restorated and very interesting as well. I was lucky enough to be one of the only visitors that morning, and the people working there took the time to explain every single detail to me, and I learned quite a few things, so it was very educational. I then walked around a little more, bought a book, of course. I mean, I had to go to an English bookstore, and I bought Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own, which I had wanted to get for a while, and I found this very beautiful edition there, so I think it was really reasonable of me to only get one book. I mean, it could have been more. And then I decided to have lunch at the beach cafe because I had picnics for the entire week, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to have lunch somewhere one day of my trip. And so after that I just walked along the beach for a while again, and on the way back even treated myself to some tea and a scone, which was delicious. I love scones. But yeah, unfortunately my headache made me feel very sick in the evenings, so I had to go to bed very early. And this is just to say that, of course, things do not go necessarily as planned on a trip. Just like you would have to deal with things like this at home, you'll have to deal with these things on a trip by yourself. So then Friday was really my day of departure, and so I walked to the beach cafe one last time to have some tea and read my book. I was reading the Guernsey Literary and Potato Pie Society during my stay. I mean, I haven't finished it yet, but so far I'm really enjoying it, so I really highly recommend it. And you know, I just sat there, looked at the sea and walked back on the beach, knowing that I would miss the seaside so much when I'd be back home. I live surrounded by the forest, which is lovely as well, but it's just also quite a different kind of landscape. So I was just, you know, taking in the view before going back. And the trip back with the ferry went really well, but I only arrived at my hotel about 10 p.m, so I was really tired, and I almost immediately went to bed when I'd arrived. Next morning I woke up rather early, considering the fact that I was still tired from my trip, and so I decided to go get a croissant. And on my way I just spontaneously decided to go down to the seafront to enjoy my breakfast with view on the sea one last time before I had to leave and take the train back home. And I feel like that last day, just going to seafront that early in the morning on my own, spontaneously, I feel like this, like I was really so much more ease and confident by the end of my trip, and I really felt good about being on my own that day, which is great.
So please
Okay, so now I completed all of my illustrations. I just finished the last one, which looks like this. I quite like this one, though the previous one I didn't quite like that much. But overall, I'm rather satisfied with how things turned out. Yesterday I tried to scan it in because obviously I need to have them digitally to work on the zine, but it didn't work out at all. I think just our printer, the scan over printer, is just not as good. It really turned out super like fading the colours, and so I decided to take the photos with my phone instead. I think it's going to do the job. I mean, it's just for me, you know, I'm doing this scene just for me as a way to remind my first solo trip, and yeah, I haven't done something like this in a while, so I think it's gonna go work out just as it is. And now I'm going to import all of these photos onto my tablet and continue working on there. I might add some little doodles here and there, so do some digital drawing as well, which I haven't done in quite a while, so I'm going to see how this works. But so far I've got quite a good feeling about this, so let's continue. So as you can see, this was quite a bit of work. I imported all of the photos, adjusted the size, decided on the layout and the font for the heading of each day, and then I filled the journal with my experiences, though writing on the tablet made my handwriting look worse than it actually is. Thank you so much everyone for watching. I finished the zine on time and I printed it yesterday, so here it is. I really like how it turned out. The only mistake, the only thing that I didn't quite manage to do is to have the layout be correct, so my little overview is on the last page instead of the back of the cover. But overall, I really am happy that my perfectionism didn't get in the way of me finishing this, so that is really amazing. I thought, you know, I'd be very sort of held back by my perfectionism and not finishing it in time, but I was just like, okay, you know what, I don't care. My handwriting is absolutely horrible, but it's just for me, it's not meant to be read by everyone, so that's okay. Yeah, overall this trip was really, it was great. Like, leaving aside the little struggles that I had in the beginning and also my very bad headache towards the end of the trip, it was really also a lesson learned for me to see that I can go through emotional ups and downs on my own. I can enjoy time on my own, and I really highly encourage you to do that, because it is so great to just be following your own pace and not to have to adapt to anyone but yourself. And if you've never done anything like this before, maybe try, which is what I did during the last couple of years, go to the cinema or a cafe or the museum on your own and see how you like that and how you know, can just expand your comfort zone step by step. And maybe for your first solo trip, do something that is not too far away, and maybe also shorter in time, like a shorter weekend trip or something like that. It is so typical of me to be like, oh, for my first solo trip I'm just going on a 1.5 day journey and going on an island for a week. Like, this is just, I usually do and plan things that are a bit too much for me. You know, in the end it was fine, but the beginning was like a bit tough. So yeah, I'd say I think I'd do that again. Maybe for a shorter period of time, maybe for a holiday trip, because There were moments during that stay where I was like, it would be so nice to just have someone to chat to and share the experience with, but also really enjoyed it. So I think I'd do it again, but maybe for a shorter amount of time. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, and please share your solo adventures in the comment section down below. And how do you capture your holidays? Do you like to paint, draw, or write in a journal, or take tons of photos? Please let me know, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye!